say it a different way. If managers and leaders want to exceed the expectations of your customers, the only way you can do that is if, as managers and leaders, you're going to exceed the expectations of your people so they can exceed the expectations of the customer.
Imagine growing up in a poor neighborhood, watching your parents struggle just to survive, and then years later, you create a company that changes the way the entire world drinks coffee. This is the incredible story of Howard Schultz, the man who turned Starbucks from a small coffee shop into a global empire. And his journey proves that no matter where you come from, success is always possible. Howard Schultz was born in 1953 in Brooklyn, New York. His family lived in a public housing project called the Bayview Houses. His father was a truck driver who never made more than $20,000 a year. His mother worked small jobs to support the family. It was a tough life. Howard remembers watching his father get injured at work, unable to provide for the family with no health insurance, no savings, and no support. That moment would stay with him forever. For young Howard, it was simple. He never wanted to live like that again. Sports became his way out. Schultz earned a football scholarship to college, but when the scholarship ended, he struggled to pay tuition. To survive, he worked multiple part-time jobs, bartending, waiting tables, even working in the cafeteria. Despite the struggles, Howard became the first in his family to graduate from college. He studied communications, but what he really had was ambition, a fire to escape poverty and build something bigger. After graduation, Schultz worked for Xerox, selling office equipment door to door. It wasn't glamorous, but he was learning how to sell, how to talk to people, and how to close deals. Then, in 1981, while working for a housewares company, Howard noticed something unusual. One of his clients in Seattle, a small coffee shop called Starbucks, was buying an unusually large number of coffee makers. Curious, Schultz flew across the country to see it for himself. What he found changed his life. At the time, Starbucks wasn't the Starbucks we know today. It didn't sell lattes or cappuccinos, it only sold coffee beans and equipment. But Howard saw potential. He walked into the shop, smelled the roasted beans, and felt something special. He knew this wasn't just about coffee, it was about community, experience, and culture. Howard became obsessed. He joined Starbucks as head of marketing in 1982. But soon, a trip to Italy would completely transform his vision. In Milan, Schultz discovered the Italian coffee culture. Espresso bars on every corner, where people gathered not just to drink coffee but to connect. The barista knew your name. The café was part of everyday life. Schultz had an idea. What if Starbucks could bring this culture to America? Not just selling beans but creating cafés where people could relax, connect, and belong. When he pitched the idea, the original Starbucks founders said no. They didn't want to change their business model. So Howard made a bold decision. He left Starbucks to start his own company. In 1985, Schultz opened his own café, Illinois Journal, based on the Italian coffeehouse model. Money was tight. He begged investors to believe in his vision, and faced rejection after rejection. But he refused to quit. Slowly, customers started to come in. They loved the espresso drinks, the atmosphere, the sense of community. Then, in 1987, opportunity struck. Starbucks was struggling financially, and Schultz managed to raise enough money to buy the company. He merged it with Il Giornale and became CEO. Now Starbucks was his. Schultz went all in. He expanded Starbucks aggressively but carefully, making sure every cafe felt like a welcoming space. By the 1990s, Starbucks was opening new stores across the U.S. But Schultz didn't just want a coffee chain. He wanted a company that treated its employees, whom he called partners, with respect. He introduced healthcare benefits for part-timers, stock options, and a culture of dignity that he never saw in his own father's jobs. By the 2000s, Starbucks had become a global empire, with thousands of stores worldwide, redefining coffee culture forever. Howard Schultz went from a poor kid in Brooklyn to the billionaire CEO of Starbucks. But more importantly, he built a company rooted in values, community, opportunity, and respect. He once said, "Dream more than others, think practical. Expect more than others, think possible. Care more than others, think wise." Schultz's story isn't just about coffee. It's about resilience, vision, and the belief that where you start doesn't define where you finish. So the next time you walk into a Starbucks, remember, it's not just about a cup of coffee. It's about a man who refused to let his past define him, and built something that changed the world. If you love true stories of people who rise from nothing to build legacies, hit that subscribe button right now. Because the next story we share might be the one that inspires your own journey.
The last thing you said, and it's been said many times by the chairman, I just want to make a point of that. This monarch of billionaire, let's just get at that, okay? I grew up in federally subsidized housing. Let me finish. I grew up in federally subsidized housing. My parents never owned a home. I came from nothing. I thought my entire life was based on the achievement of the American dream. Yes, I have billions of dollars. I earned it. No one gave it to me. And I've shared it constantly with the people of Starbucks. And so anyone who keeps labeling this billionaire thing, it's...
Mr. Schultz, I don't mean to...